Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Thursday night, and it is the NLG show. We have a special edition of our great show here with a fantastic guest, what I would consider an industry legend, and I am absolutely delighted to have with us tonight game developer extraordinaire, Mr. Ed Annunziata. How you doing, Ed?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. We are so excited to have you. It's not even funny.
I'm excited to be had.
So I know you can. I know. Because you're on your phone, you can't see the whole screen. But I got my Sega Saturn shirt on. I figured this was a great night to wear it.
Nice.
So how are things over there on the West Coast?
Good. It's the end of my day, and I just got home, and luckily I remembered, and here I am.
That's excellent.
Remember to be on the show, or remember that you had to remember your home?
Yeah, I did remember how to drive home, but yeah. What would have happened if I completely forgot? Like, you would have been...
I'd have been like, hey, Ed, you coming on? That's all right. Well, we'd have just pushed it to next week. That's all. You know, we've been stood up before. It's okay. But you didn't. You didn't. You're here.
Yes.
So, oh man. So hey, Peter, how you doing, man?
Good.
Yeah.
Survived almost the whole work week, so that's always good. Glad to be here.
It is Thursday. This week has been rough.
One more day. Oof.
Yeah, that's been one of those weeks that it's made me glad to be here tonight and glad that the weekend is starting. So
yeah.
So are you Ed, are you one of those 24/7 developer guys? Always at it?
No, I'm old now. I used to be one of those guys.
Yeah.
And in fact, I mean, one of my favorite parts of making games was like working through the night with the testers. Those were good times. But now I'm too old for 24/7. Yeah. Although I'm probably always either thinking about games or little play mechanics or trying to solve some problem kind of in the background. Even when I dream, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You dream of game code. Dream of code. So
yeah, I'm a software engineer, so I don't do games, but you know, you're always thinking about problem solving, and same thing. Even when you're asleep, you wake up in the morning, it's like, yep, that's it.
What kind of stuff do you work on?
I work on enterprise applications.
Yeah, like Python or?
No, mainly the Microsoft stack, like .NET and SQL Server and all that stuff.
Do you ever find yourself either like driving or having a meal and then something that you're trying to solve occurs to you?
Mm-hmm.
You feel like running to your computer to implement the solution you just came up with?
Sometimes. I work from home, so there's no commute, so that's easy.
I can't work from home. If I do, I keep finding myself in front of the refrigerator. And I'm here again.
Yeah.
I am with you on that. It's funny you mention that because I'm an IT guy. I do the hardware side, network engineering, stuff like that. And 4 out of the 5 days a week, with the exception of this week, because I had to do some traveling, but I'm usually at home too. And I used to have a tethered headset, and I had to go Bluetooth because I have to get up and walk, or else I sit here and just melt into the chair. It's insane.
Yeah,
So.
I'm a pacer when I'm on the phone, and right now I hope you don't mind the moving background.
No. As I was telling you beforehand, we had Greg Thomas on. He paced outside of his office back and forth. We got ocean views and all kinds of stuff. So
hey, how come how did he get to do the show earlier of the podcast? Because I noticed it was daylight, or was
he was in Hawaii.
Oh, that's
it was still 9:30 here, but it was like 1 in the afternoon there. So
oh, that's right. So he's in Maui, right?
He's in Maui.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he was totally live. Yeah. So we like to do this live because you never know what's going to happen, and plus people will jump in and chat and stuff like that.
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me this is live right now?
Hey, Peter,
Live, super live. It's extremely live.
it's extremely live.
Oh, no.
We used to do this on Twitch. It was not as live as
Right.
now on YouTube.
No, so
Sorry about
No
it's
delay.
okay. It's okay. So so the things you it's hard because I don't know where to start. I'm marking out so much. You have no idea. So the day you started following me on Twitter, I was like, okay, hold on. The man who created one of my favorite games on the Sega platform just started following me. I'm just gonna retire now. I'm done.
Wow.
So
When was that?
I don't know. It was
Recently, or-
4 or 5 months ago. I mean, we've been Twitter friends for a little bit. Not that it means anything, but
Awesome.
I love it. So, but you know, I don't know where to start because it's one thing when we have someone who's a young guy. He's right in development. He's in his first or second game. We've had those. We've had folks that they've been developers, but then they stopped and now they're doing other things. You're still at it after 30 plus years. I mean,
Apparently.
if I remember correctly, you started out with Spider-Man on the Genesis. Was one of your first?
Yeah, that was my first. Well, that was that was like 1990.
Exactly. Yes. Yep.
Ish. Yeah.
It was
But
before
that was,
Activision. It was before Activision got the license.
Yeah, Sega had it at the time. That
Yeah.
was for Sega of America. I think Spider-Man was the first originally designed Sega of America game for the Genesis, but it wasn't the first game that I worked on. I think my first game was Abrams Battle Tank, or it could have been 688 Attack Sub.
What?
One of those two.
For EA?
Yeah, it wasn't for EA. Sega of America licensed a bunch of games from EA, and then I got a few. I got to produce a few of them.
I remember
those two actually.
I remember M1 Abrams Tank Simulator for the PC. Before I got into console gaming, I was a big PC guy.
Oh
and,
man, this on the Genesis, right? 1991 or something.
Oh my god!
Full 3D, 7 or 6 frames per second. It was awesome.
Oh my goodness! And I had forgotten that 688 Attack Sub came out too. I mean, they had a bunch of the F14 or what was it F18 was another one they brought out. There was a few of those EA kind of sim
military
games,
sims,
the military sims. But I did not realize M1 came out on the Genesis. I'm gonna have to go looking at that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I played those, like I said, I played those games on the PC, and they were great simulators. 688 Attack Sub was really great. I had Falcon. I don't know if you ever remember Falcon from it was like Falcon 3.0 from what the hell was it? Spectrum Holobyte.
Oh man, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean,
I could see the cover in my mind. I couldn't remember the game or the publisher.
It was Spectrum Holobyte. It had I remember the manual was like a real jet manual.
Yeah.
It was insane.
God, games are so weird back then.
They were, but they were so much more pure though. I mean, I mean, and I'd love to get your take on this. A game comes out now, and before the game launches, there's a 15 gig day one patch you have to get in order for the game to work right. I mean,
it's crazy.
We used to put the cartridge in the slot or the CD in the drive, and it just used to play.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the CPUs were like, 20 megahertz. Yes. I mean, they were like slow, and yet the software would instantly boot. I remember when I was working on the Atari 800. It had a reset button. So as soon as you pressed the reset button, it would just say ready. So it would reboot the whole thing within, 100 milliseconds. And that was going at, that 6502 was going at like 4 megahertz.
Yep.
And it was instantaneous. From that point on, computers got slower and slower and slower as they got faster and faster and faster. Now,
isn't that something?
Now it's just like, it's ridiculous. Like the slowest thing in my life is booting my computer, and I don't even know how fast it is because it's like remember anymore. In terms of the megahertz or gigahertz or whatever hertz. So that is kind of weird. And I always have mixed feelings, too. I remember playing World of Warcraft. It's like, oh, big patch. It's like, on one hand, I don't want to wait because I'm ready to play right now. But on the other, I know I'm getting man-years of people's efforts, basically for free. And, I'm getting those gigs. They're for me. See you later. Sorry, my wife's leaving.
Oh.
Goodbye. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. So now see, I didn't know this about you before I got in, before my PC days. I was an Atari guy. I had the 800. Then I graduated to the 1200
I don't hear
XL.
Anything.
Oh, did we lose you? Did we lose any audio?
Might have lost me.
All right, hold on. Oh, all right, we see you. We do see you. We see you. Oh, hold on, I know you. We do see you.
Do you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Everything's okay now.
Okay. I had my first home computer was the 800, and I graduated to a 1200 XL. Exactly. I had the tape drive. I had with the cassette tape with states and capitals, and you had to play the first part of it to load the second part of the game, so you couldn't play for 45 minutes because you had to wait for it. And then I got my first 5 1/4 inch floppy drive, and I had if you remember the War Games modem, the 300 baud acoustic modem, I had that. I mean, yeah, I actually.
How old are you?
46.
Hey, man.
Yeah. I had my first BBS on an Atari.
BBS.
I ran my first BBS. I ran those until I used to program in a TASCII. I mean, I was pretty hip into the Atari scene. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I loved it.
When I graduated to PC, I ended up with a Tandy 1000 EX. That was my first foray into PC gaming, and I ran 2 other bulletin board systems from that. It was cool. Pretty cool. So WWIVnet, back when it was C++, and there was one actually in Fortran that I had to learn how to do Fortran in order to run the BBS.
Fortran.
Yeah. So now we're both dating. We're both dating here. All right, so we started back there. So how did you get involved in Sega? Where did they find you?
So I was making educational games in New York, and the company I was working for was going to open up like a subsidiary out here in California back in like 89 or 88 or something like that. And I volunteered to move out to California. And and then when I came out here, back then there weren't a lot of computer jobs in New York, or not like games or educational games as much as there was out here in California. So as soon as I get out here, I was like, there's just so much opportunity, And when the time was right, I got a call from a headhunter, first headhunter call I ever got in my life. And they were like, hey, Sega, you ever hear of Sega? And I was like, I did. And then just got in, got to meet those guys that, it was Ken Balthaser, Clyde Grossman, Jim Heather. I could see a guy over on the left. That's it. That's all I can remember. But they tag teamed me. They interviewed me. I, at that point, pitched them multiple games that I wanted to design, one of which was Ecco. I had a demo. I took my Mac SE, which was this one-piece Mac computer with a little 9-inch screen built in, monochrome, and I had a deluxe paint. No, not deluxe paint. It was Director. There was software called Director, which was from Macromedia. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I showed them the very first Ecco the Dolphin prototype on that job interview. They were not impressed, but somehow I got a call back, and I got in, and I started, and that's when I started with Abrams Battle Tank in 688. And I knew Spider-Man was on the list, and everybody that, like my peers that I was working with, were really excited about the game Dick Tracy, because it was going to come out with the movie Dick Tracy,
right?
Which I remember Madonna was in that movie, I think.
Yes.
So everybody wanted that, and I was like, I don't want Dick Tracy. I want Spider-Man, and I got it.
Nice.
So. Yeah, that was sweet.
That's cool.
And so that one you produced.
Yeah.
So
like usually that's genetically that's what I am, a game producer.
Okay.
Like I don't really make games. I just kind of allow them to happen.
But Ecco,
get out of the way.
But Ecco was your design.
Yeah. Very high level design. The ideas, the play mechanics, the story, and then, immediately, especially, when you have a team of people and everybody likes each other and you're having fun making games, then, the ideas bounce around in the room and they come from everybody. So, yeah, I didn't sit down and design Ecco all by myself in some room and then throw it on somebody's desk saying, "Here, I want to make this game." It was more like, all right, let's start with the motion going in and out of the water, and boy, that feels good, and it works really well for scrolling type of games. And yeah, sure, there's no inventory and there's no guns, so can it be fun? Well, of course, I thought so, and there it is.
Well, and I have some video footage. We'll play some stuff while we're talking. But so I remember the first time I got a chance to play Ecco, and it was so simplistic but so complex at the same time. Like this scene here that's on the screen where, in order to make your way down, you need to use the rock to get past the bubble
the
up.
Upward current.
The upward,
yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the level design in Ecco is also some of the most beautiful design that came out on the Genesis at the time. And to be honest with you, so I don't have my Genesis copy anymore. However, and I'll bring it over to the left side of the screen, I have my Sega CD copy because the soundtrack. We got to talk music tonight too. And then of course there is Ecco Tides of Time. Those were my I loved putting just tons of time into these games, getting through them, beating the first one and then getting through the vortex on the second one, and just some of the the mechanics were, you're right, the mechanics were very simplistic, but they really, together with what you did with the game, it was just it, it it was hard to describe at the time, and it still is. I mean, it's a gorgeous game that's different from the time than what else was out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was. It came out very nice. But you know, if I could go back in time, probably be a little bit easier to play, maybe. Um,
Well, so I will say this. I have noticed, especially with games like Mr. Bones, I have noticed you like a certain difficulty factor.
yeah, I think. Yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot too. In my later years as a game dev, I guess it's really easy to make a game that's too hard. That's one thing I've learned. The other thing is I was definitely victim to playing my own games. You kind of get good at it, especially since often I know what the puzzle is because I came up with it. So it's like I'm already kind of good at it. Not to brag, but I knew
Sure.
all this stuff going in. So it wasn't. I wasn't good at like sort of judging the challenge from someone who just picks up the controller and starts playing. It just never really occurred to me. And that's me doing the mea culpa. But also back then. And this is a problem that, when games were made, they were burned onto EPROMs and shipped on a boat and put on, physical shelves. And to do a, minor update to make it a little easier or do anything, fix bugs or add content was basically impossible. So you finish the game and just hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
But I do also. I mean, it's a game, so if like what I was really always going after is the feeling that you get when you accomplish something. Like when I heard you say I beat the vortex, and I know that's a like a Mount Everest type of thing.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
I just like that. And the other problem. Here's the other problem. So if you take the fact that you can't update things and the fact that I was not good at projecting sort of ignorance or like someone just picking up a controller, like I was like kind of stuck in my own head. The other factor for why my games are too damn hard is that it has to be hard. Like it has to have some sort of meaning. And then the other thing is, it's a game. It's just a game. Like no one's life depends on whether or not you beat the vortex, and it's not that serious. So I never took anything with games serious. I was always like trying to mess with you or try to do something out of the box and weird and strange because the opportunity was there. And it's just games. And back then, like when Ecco came out, like the comic books were like a bigger industry than video games. And that isn't the case anymore. But back then, it was like nobody played games. There was me and you and a bunch of kids we knew, but most people didn't play games. There were like 4 million hardcore gamers in the United States back in those days. And that's not a lot of people. So like I was sort of left alone, and I was able to do whatever I wanted. And since it's just a game, I might as well, be as weird and creative as I could get. And so every game has some crazy idea.
Well, and you see some of the games that come out of indie developers today, and they're still doing things like that. There are games that have modeled themselves under the underwater theme, and and there are games that have kind of molded themselves after games like Ecco the Dolphin. That back then you pioneered and made way for other people to do. Nobody had seen this kind of thing before, and as a kid, maybe let's see, in the '90s, my late teens, I was still, this captured my interest because you hit start, there was no difficulty level. Like, you didn't pick easy, hard, medium. You didn't. You just you went right into the game. There was
Yeah, I like that.
Tides of Time, of course, had a prologue, but the first Echo didn't. You started off. You were there. There's the dolphin. You move it around. You jump around. You figure it out without a number of, how in today's games you have, you walk up to something, press X to do this. Hey, move your stick around to look around. You didn't have any of that.
There's a lot of hand holding now in current games. I remember the first time playing Echo, which was not too long ago. I apologize. Never had a Sega, but it was like a little tough. I didn't know exactly what to do, and and then also when time, when you don't have too much time on your hands, it's easy to just say like, hey, I'm giving up. But just seeing Mike play, I got some ideas now. I didn't know you could push things around and stuff. Oh yeah.
I insist that you try it again, and also that you try to beat it.
Mm-hmm. And if anybody does that, Peter is our game finisher. He's
a closer.
He's
try to plow through it regardless. Yeah.
Yeah. He's our game beater. He says whether he likes it or not, whether he likes the game or not, he will run and try to beat it. So,
once I start something, I can't leave it unfinished.
I mean, I finished these, but I finished them in the '90s. So and going back and capturing this footage today, this is a game that to me, and I promise you, and I'm not saying this simply because you're here, but this is a game that you could bring this game out now as an indie title, and it would. I mean, it stands the test of time, because again, there are other games out there now that are trying to do things like this, where it's 1-2 buttons. In this case, in Echo, there was 3, but there was not a lot of complexity, but there was also not a lot. There was a lot of ambiguity in what you did, and these type of game, this game, you could make this game now, and it would be just as interesting and as playable as it was back then. And I know that you tried to resurrect at least I remember the Kickstarter for Big Blue.
Yeah.
And it was I had heard about it. I hadn't had a chance. By the time I had gotten to it, the Kickstarter was over. But it was one that I had hoped would have come to fruition. And what happened with it?
No. Well, it didn't work. The Kickstarter didn't work. But I don't really care, because as long as I'm still kicking, it still might happen. Like I don't give up.
Excellent.
Even Echo, I mean, the answer was no when I pitched it. The first 5,000 times, no, or I was just totally ignored, and I was just I was tenacious, and then got it to happen, and I've learned that every single thing. Only because the way I look at games, they're just a game, so might as well be creative and weird. Like I have like all these things that I want to do, and I just keep thinking about them or moving them little baby steps forward. And then at some point, there'll be some serendipitous sort of opportunity to say, hey, how about this idea? And, with Echo was one of those things where, after many no's, there was this moment in time that I noticed, and I was like, hey, how about this little dolphin thing? And then a couple people heard me, and then they said, hey, what about that dolphin thing? And then it caught on. So it's just, I guess, I'm just an opportunist, and I have like a Pez dispenser of all these game ideas. I think way too many, way too long about it. Just think about these things, and then an opportunity will come up. Either it's going to be money, or a publisher, or somebody who has something that needs a game, and then I'll slip it in there. So the Big Blue. I mean, when you read my obituary, then you can say, "Oh shit, he never got to do the Big Blue." But until that happens,
yeah. So well, with Playcomy, which is your current company, has there been talk of maybe getting it back, and is there any possibility of getting the name back?
Oh, you mean Echo?
Yeah.
Well, I guess yeah. So, like I said, I'm tenacious.
They're not doing anything with it.
That's all I want to say.
Okay.
No
problem.
There's a way, there's definitely the will.
No,
and
but
the desire. And if I do get it, I will take advantage of it as best I can.
Well, so an interesting thing too. When were you still with Sega when Defenders of the Future came out? Because that was the one. Okay, that explains why. Because it's the one game. Because I have that one too. I am I'm an Echo fan. It was one of the games that did not have your name on it, and
Dreamcast version, right?
Yeah, the Dreamcast version. Yeah. A different direction, and when I looked at, I did, if you go on YouTube, you can still see videos for Big Blue,
sure.
And it looks like more along the lines of what we're seeing here. And was it always going to still be this kind of 2D scrolling side scroller?
Yes. Yes. To me, the play mechanic is the 2D control. I mean, the graphics could be full on 3D, but when you play the Dolphin, it's a 2D control. That's like what the play mechanic is. To make it 3D and see the game like 90% of the time from the back of the tail, look, just isn't. It's sort of like taking the character and the idea, I guess, or it's just making a Dolphin game in 3D. But Echo was about side scrolling and going in and out of the water, and, navigating in 2D. In my mind.
Yeah. Well, and
if there's ever going to be another, like a third, in my story, a third episode, it's going to be 2D.
I'm good with that. I'm perfectly good with that.
Because to me, it's just simply not Echo if it's not controlled that way.
Well,
and I think that's a good, it's a good play mechanic. So that sort of overrides everything.
Well, and there is a difference. So we won't spend much time on it because it's not your game. But you're right. There was a marked difference in with Defenders of the Future what even your mission was and what you had to do. I don't know. Did you ever play it?
I did. I played it briefly, but I didn't spend a lot of time with it.
Yeah, I did because of, not knowing at the time, I didn't know who you were at the time. I just knew it was Echo. So my apologies.
No,
But
no problem.
you know,
I have nothing against the game. I just don't have anything to do.
it was different. It was not it. That is, it was not the same. Um,
Mm.
you know, and while you were at Sega, you also had your hands in some of the other games on the Genesis that I like. And in the chat room now is a guy named Jago Kukin. He's a Sega guy too, so there are some games that he'll recognize. Although I did not realize how much of a fraud he was, that he never played Echo. So now
Oh.
so Jago. That's your homework, man. That is your homework. But
we should all play it.
yeah, yes, I might go back.
I'm not gonna play it.
I mean, I got it started. I might have to go back. But while you were, still doing Genesis stuff, you had your hands on some other games that I really enjoyed, and one of my favorite RPGs so there were actually two RPGs I really enjoyed. One was Buck Rogers, which was one of the very first games that had come out, and then Dungeons and Dragons: Warriors of the Eternal Sun.
Oh.
Oh man, I spent a lot of time on that game.
Yeah, cool.
It was like trying to think what. Again, it was a game that wasn't like many of the other RPGs that had come out at that time. The ones that were just kind of like you moved forward in that little screen. There was the Nintendo RPG that did that.
Like stepping forward in
that kind of
3D
thing.
dungeons.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, but this was a little different, as it was kind of it had some isometric pieces.
Yeah,
to
when
it.
you were outside, it was isometric, sort of top down.
Yeah,
tilted characters, and then when you went into the dungeon, it was more first person.
Right. So
yeah, that was a good game. I enjoyed. Well, I enjoyed working on all the games that I was involved with. But I loved that. In fact, here's something I just remembered. When I volunteered for the Dungeons and Dragons game, I got it, and then I wanted to get my head around this idea of the Hollow World, which was like this Dungeons and Dragons campaign where the idea was that Earth is hollow, and inside was this whole world called the Hollow World, and that's where Warriors of the Eternal Sun takes place, inside the Hollow World. And it was like a new thing that TSR was coming out with. And I went to Gen Con, which is the big D&D con in Milwaukee. And that was the first time I ever went. And, I was blown away by the enthusiasm for paper role-playing games and, the energy of the place. And while I was there on that trip, I was able to organize some games using the Hollow World. What do they call it? Modules, or sort of like the Hollow World campaign. And I got to sit with hardcore paper RPG players playing the Hollow World. So I was trying to get inspired for the game, for the Genesis game. And while I was walking around, across the way, I saw this dead Clint Eastwood cowboy guy poster, and it was Shakan, the Forever Man. And I was immediately attracted to that character and that view, that sort of promotional poster. And I walked up to the guy who created Shakan, the Forever Man, Robert Krause, and I said, "Hey, this guy looks like he'd be cool in a video game."
I was just about to say.
Yeah, so the Hollow World, or sorry, that's what I used to call it. Warriors of the Eternal Sun spawned Shakan the Forever Man, even though they have nothing to do with each other.
Wow.
But, one caused the other. Oh, here's the other thing too. Hollow World. Warriors
Where's the Eternal Sun?
My peers at Sega used to make fun of me, and they called it Warriors of the Eternal Project because it was like a year late. And making a role playing game, first of all, is a ton of work. Even back then, when it was only a 4 megabit experience, it was a huge amount of work, and a lot of human time went into it. And then TSR insisted that the rules be followed, the D&D rules be followed religiously, so that when you play the game, the mechanics, the programming is running the rules of the paper game, which a lot of times never really made sense because it's not a paper game; it's a computer game or a video game. So that slowed down development. So the Warriors of the Eternal Project finally came out, and wow.
And then led to Shakan.
And then that Gen Con led to Shakan. And a funny story about that, at least I think it's a funny story, is like a year after. We were in the middle of working on the game, and we made the deal with Robert Krause. We got the license and, hired everybody, and we're working on it. And I flew Robert out from Ohio to California, and he met everybody, and we were showing him all the art. And then I asked him, like, what did you think when I approached you? And he thought I was just totally just bullshitting and saying that I could make video games and that I worked for Sega just for my own weird entertainment. He didn't believe it at all. And then, so thinking back on it, he was so kind to me. He was so nice and open. And then, in retrospect, thinking that, oh man, he thought I was insane or a pathological liar. It's pretty funny that he was still nice to me.
That's awesome. I mean, and that's another game that trying to think.
Notoriously hard.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
How you come up with again so there's the gameplay mechanics for that were of course different than most of your other hack and slashes. So where did that thought process come from, or was it more looking at the just looking at the comics and seeing what the comics did?
Yeah. So you see, like, on the cover of the game, he has 2 swords. So that was my inspiration. It's like, okay, he's got a sword in each hand, and what's the play mechanic? And like, what could you do? What's the opportunity? And I like the idea of when you press the attack button, he attacks forward with the sword like you'd expect. But if you hold the attack button down, now the D-pad controls the direction of, like, sort of the swiping of the swords. So I really wanted the game to be like you run and fight, and you run and fight, and then you plant yourself, and stuff comes at you from all angles, and you hold the attack button, effectively keeping you in attack mode, and then you whip around with the D-pad, take things out. I love that mechanic. Also, one game that I loved on the Genesis was Shinobi, Revenge of Shinobi.
Oh my goodness!
And remember the double tap and the spin? I'm like, I have to rip that off. So Shakan has that same jump spin kind of mechanic, and then it was spin while you spin. If you hold that attack button, the swords come out, and then he just turns into this sort of skill saw of death. It's okay. There's a play mechanic, so that I enjoyed that a lot. And the other thing about Shakan was, and this is me taking advantage of the fact that nobody really cared about what we did with these games, is like, because the character the character endures so much suffering, he gets so effed over by death. The story really inspired me, for what he went through to get to the point where he could die. His goal is to die. And in a video game, if your goal is to die, that's kind of unusual, which is what attracted me to it. But then, reading the story and then taking, Robert's story and expanding it, and the things that he hinted at, sure, you slay all supernatural evils of the earth, and then Death says, well, look at all the stars, and around all those stars are planets, and on many of those planets are more supernatural evils. So you have to sit around and wait until there's technologies to take you to all the stars to kill all the supernatural evils before you could die. I'm like, fuck. Oops, sorry.
That's okay.
That is a lot of suffering that guy had to endure. So it was incumbent upon me to make sure the players that played Shakan the Forever Man suffered as well. So I went out of my way to make it a challenge in that way. And I remember some of the level layout was, let's have, first Shakan has to climb and then jump and then take a leap of faith. He doesn't even know where he's going to land, then climb some more and get all the way up this really high spot and get into this little room, and there's nothing there. And you just did it for no reason. And it's like, who would do that in a game design context? I mean, because games are here's another breadcrumb, and here's another star, and here's another coin, and reward. Doesn't this feel good? Isn't this great? And with Shakan, it was no, you have to suffer, just like the character. And I know the game is way too hard, and it's crappy on many levels, and it doesn't even perform. It's 30 hertz most of the time, 30 FPS. Or less, and I know there's lots of problems with it, and there's a ton of reasons why all those problems exist, and it all adds up to being a really unfairly difficult game. But I'm really happy with it, and I think that there, it's like art. It's it for what it is. I think it's great. I think it's great, and sure, it didn't sell 1 million copies and didn't make Sega $300 million, but I enjoyed it. And we're talking about it right now, 25 years later or whatever it is.
Well, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm very proud of it, and I'm glad it exists.
Well, remember, too, and I mean, again, back then, nobody talked about frame rates and things like that. I mean, is the game fun? Can I enjoy it? Does it, are there breaking glitches in it? But we didn't talk about whether or not it was, how many Ps the game were or how many frames were in it. It was just, is it a good game or not? Is it something I could...
How many blades of grass?
Right, exactly. And so Shakan was, it was just a game that I played. I played it for a while. I don't think I beat that one, but I played it for a while, and then I moved on to the next game. I mean, it wasn't. I didn't think it was a bad game by any stretch. It was. There were bad games, believe me. But that wasn't one of them. So. But then you also worked on XMen too, so you had 2 XMen games that you produced, which were good, and if I remember correctly, they were pretty acclaimed.
Yeah, I love both those games. The first one, let me see, what's my favorite thing about the first one? Well, of course, there's a level. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Give me a second. Okay, the first one. Yeah, the first one is where the second to the last level, you had to hit the reset button on the Genesis in order to kill a virus in the danger room so you could go on to the final level. So you played a very difficult game, action game, all the way through, and then the game, in the voice of Professor Xavier, saying, reset, hit the reset button now. Every time you hit that reset button on the Genesis, it would reset and show you the Sega logo of the game that you had in at the time. So this time, when you hit the reset button, the last level of the X-Men game appeared, and everybody hated me for that. And there was no internet that you could Google and then find out, you hit the reset button. That everybody had to figure out on their own, and I know many people didn't. I thought maybe, the text that says "press the reset now," I thought would definitely do it, but it didn't, and no one hit the reset button. So,
well, people were going around the level looking for a reset button.
Well, hey, so that the fourth wall, I was obligated to do something like that, and it was just a video game, so that's the time that you could do crazy things like that. So that's what I did. But the second game, I did something on that. Well, I didn't do it. I caused it to happen, which was as soon as you turned on Clone Wars X-Men 2, you put the cartridge in, you turned it on, and the game immediately started. Like it would, the character would be randomly selected, and it would just appear, and a bullet would come scrolling onto the screen towards that character. So you had to instantly evade an instant attack. No Sega logo, no title page, no developers logos, nothing. Just instantaneous play. And I was told I couldn't do that. There needed to be the 2 seconds of the Sega color cycling logo, and then I was like, okay, we won't do that, but we did, and I never got called on it, and it went out that way. So I love that about that. I love that about that game, that it had that instant start, and then I've never seen that ever since. So yeah.
I can't remember. I'm trying to remember that game. The beginning of that game. I might have to find a copy because I don't.
You can just YouTube it, and it's there. Clone Wars, and you'll see it just starts. And you play one level, and then you get the Sega logo and the title screen and the Marvel copyright, et cetera, et cetera. But you had to play first.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I love those games. I loved learning about the X-Men mythology and being involved and getting to know like the Marvel people in New York. That was a great time. And then when Spider-Man did pretty well and X-Men did great. Both of the games did pretty well. I can't remember what the sales were, but they were significant. I know that because Sega gave me a block of acrylic that said, Employee of the Year when I did one of those X-Men, which I knew equated to sales somehow. So they did pretty well with them. And then I guess as a result, Marvel also did, tiny little Marvel and the tiny little comic book industry did well with their royalties on the Sega Genesis video game. So they sent me a copy of Spider-Man. It was a special issue. It was the platinum issue of Todd McFarlane's #1 Spider-Man, which was a big deal because Todd McFarlane was a great artist, and he got Spider-Man, and he did these beautiful covers of Spidey in the web, and they made this platinum edition which had no ads. And it was just for like comic book retailers. I think they only did like 5,000 of them or something like that. And I got one of them, and it was like the most. I still have it. I have it like.
I was gonna say you still have it.
Yeah. Like it's one of the most valuable things I own. Which it's not really. It's like $50 on eBay, but to me, it's awesome, and it represents that time working with Marvel making those Marvel games.
That
Yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, it really, really sounds awesome. Especially getting in, when you're able to get into that and make things like that work, and then getting recognition for it. That's really it's nice. And then from there, then the I know there was you made Echo Junior, which I did not play. Or you produced it, right? With the Echo
Yeah.
Junior.
Yeah, that the reason for Echo Junior was I had a little girl who couldn't play Echo, but liked dolphins, and it was like, well, little kids, and then there was an opportunity to make some kids games on the Genesis, and I was like, yeah, I got an idea.
Nice. And so after that, we were talking in the chat room about the Sega CD stuff, because that's where my version of Echo is. I do have to ask you this. The thing about games back then too, for me anyway, going from the Sega CD into the Sega Saturn, a little bit into the Sega Dreamcast, and a little bit today, but not as much, were how, because things weren't as graphically as enhanced as they are today, companies concentrated on music and sound to produce. Was one of the big things about the Sega CD was not just the full motion video, but being able to craft these beautiful CD soundtracks, which I still love to this day. I have to ask you, did you? I know I saw your tweet. Did you end up getting to go backstage to hook up with Tommy Tallarico?
Oh yeah. I got up on the stage, and there was.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, it was fun. That was a lot of fun.
He's another guy I got to get on here, because there are two guys from the musical industry that that are also what I consider my bucket list folks to talk to. Tommy is one of them. The other is Spencer Nilsson.
Oh yeah.
Who I know he's still around. I know he's doing something. He's more into the educational music bit right now. But
we're working together on some stuff.
What? Like currently?
Yeah, we got some irons in the fire.
No kidding.
We both have irons in the same fire. I guess is a good way of putting it. And he's doing well. He's teaching, and writing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's a both of those, Tommy and Spencer, and all the music guys. There's something about the music guys. They're all really, really awesome and great to hang out with, and sound guys, music guys like that are great. You like Ronnie Montrose.
Yep.
Ronnie and I became like really tight friends.
Oh wow!
During Mr. Bones, and then the years afterwards. So yeah, I always got so definitely have Tommy on. You should do it soon, because he's doing this television thing.
Yes, which is the other reason I want to talk to him. The other reason I want to talk to him.
Yeah.
Are we getting an echo on television?
You're gonna get something.
The Amico.
That's why I went to this video games live thing. I'm like hobnobbing up against Tommy. Come on, Tommy. Let me do something. I'm dying to do anything for that system. So if it ends up being aquatic, so be it. Yeah, I'm a big believer in Tommy and the Amico.
I'm all in on the Amico. I'm all in on it, because I mean the before there was Genesis, before there was, I kind of skipped over the Atari 2600 and went to the Intellivision. So, I grew up with the Intellivision. That was my that was my system. Playing Burger Time, playing Tron Deadly Discs, playing all these old, you want to talk about Sprite games. That was it.
I totally forgot. I never played the Intellivision. I
Oh
never
my
paid
goodness.
attention to it. I forgot all about it. Then like decades went by, and then Tommy started doing this thing, and then he called me. He goes, "Do you remember a television?" I was like, "No, I never played any Intellivision games." But now I want to make one. Now I'm excited about it.
You should be. I am too. So I gotta figure out how to. I do have to figure out how to get him on here.
Just tweet him. Say, "Come on, we need you."
I've done that.
ASAP.
Yeah.
I've done that, but I'm not
here on Thursday at 9:30.
Said Ed said to come on the show.
Yeah, so Ed said he'll kick your ass if he doesn't come on.
So but I'm also jealous that you're working with Spencer again. I mean, the Echo soundtrack is the reason that I don't have the Genesis version. I mean,
yeah,
it's the things that he did, whether it was Sonic CD, Echo, Batman Returns. I mean, those are reasons that I loved the Sega CD. And with Tommy, it was Earthworm Jim. It was the Terminator soundtrack. It was those
Aladdin,
Aladdin, Cool Spot.
There's hundreds of Tommy Tallarico games. Like every single person who played any games back then has a Tommy tune like in their brain looping right now because Tommy was so prolific. So I can't even name all the games. I know it's hundreds of games that he has sound in.
Yeah, but so I'm gonna tell him Ed said.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna find a way to find Spencer. Maybe you can introduce us. That is just those are two of my icons. And then as a musician myself, I mean I just have such respect for what they do and what they made and how they just shaped video games in that time.
Yeah.
So,
you. What was amazing too was like the back in the Genesis days that this sound was made by this like cheap little Yamaha chip with a Z80 processor driving it. So any sound that came out of it, it was like wondrous because the sound designer had to make a waveform like in it with parameters. So it's like whenever you would hear, like, you remember Streets of Rage, that soundtrack? It's like, oh my God, how did he do that? It was like an instrument that's nearly impossible to play, and only very few specialized people with like 10 fingers on each hand could play this particular instrument. That's what it was like. It was so easy to do shitty music with that hardware, and it was almost impossible to do great music. And I was so lucky to be involved with projects that had a lot of great music.
Yeah, agreed. So you brought up Ronnie Montrose, and that brings me to one of my other staple games, which is Mr. Bones. And man, so where did that idea come from? That I gotta hear where Mr. Bones came from, because the only other time that I saw anything like that in that style, where you had, well, let me put it this way, some of the style, because there were so many different levels to Mr. Bones, but the side-scrolling stuff was very reminiscent of a Sega CD game, the Sony version, Sony ImageSoft version of Dracula, where you had this, and I'm bringing it up now to show people, you had this kind of movie, full motion video style background.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then you had, the sprite kind of stuff in the video. I mean, this was, so what I'm
Yeah,
showing people now is the mausoleum level.
yeah. I hated that level.
Well, yeah, so did I, because I couldn't figure out how in the world to beat this level because, again, there was no instruction. So, getting through these jerks trying to knock me off the mausoleum was one thing, and then they started charging me, and I'm like, what in the world do I do? So, by accident, I let one of them run off the edge, and then they all backed up and run to the edge. Then they backed up and run to the edge, and I just let them. I just jumped and let them run off the edge, and that's how I beat the level. But it was crazy. Where did you come? How? Just I need to know how you thought this game out.
Well, I have no idea. The character. I don't really know what the inspiration was. It was definitely death, and the skeleton as a character was appealing to me. Oh, because of Jason and the Argonauts. Like when I was 4, I saw that movie Jason and the Argonauts, and that was the famous Von Hausen scene with Achilles fighting the skeletons, the animated skeletons. So I was inspired by that animated skeletons, and I had this idea, years before the Saturn happened, and I remember too. It was like, Saturn is coming. What are we going to build for a Saturn? Okay, I know I'm going to do an Echo for Saturn, but before that, let me try this skeleton thing. And there was the fact that he was dead and that he was a skeleton implied a lot of creative things in my mind, like the fact that his fingers or his body, everything is rigid. So with the whole guitar thing, his fingers are a perfect slide. So he had to have a good sliding guitar style because he didn't have fleshy fingers. He had rigid, bony fingers. So that would imply how the guitar is going to sound, and that led to eventually to Ronnie. So it's like the skeleton kept informing the game. So it's like, oh wait, the other thing about skeletons are they're made up of 400 or 500 bones, individual bones, and they could fall apart and then come back together. So that goes into the game because the skeleton sort of you have to have the skeleton fall apart and come back together because they're made of parts, rigid parts. So like that, and that's kind of like what I loved about Mr. Bones is like he kind of took over the development, like all the ideas, like he takes off one arm, now he has like a 4 bone long arm so he could reach different things, or he could put his arms in between his hips and his legs and have like really long legs so he could jump higher.
Wait a minute, those faster. Weren't glitches?
No, no.
Because,
but they looked like it. I was very, very unhappy with the Saturn as a piece of hardware because when the promise of Saturn was 3D and you could do all these things, and we really wanted Mr. Bones to be like sort of motion capture animated. So he needed to be made out of polygons, and he needed to his points that control rotations of his bones were it's all 3D. So, but it just the hardware just would not render a polygon nicely, no matter what we did. In fact, Mr. Bones, like every time his bones would sort of like go to an angle, his bones would turn into little staircases. So we couldn't make like smooth looking bones. So, one of the programmers, Dave Castelnuovo, came up with the idea of using a semi-transparent pixel in between each of the stairs of the aliased bone. And it's like, oh my God, it made it look so much better, but still does not look good enough. So the limitations of the Saturn kind of forced an idea, which was what you were alluding to earlier, I think, which was we called it pan scrolling, where the background was actually full motion video pre-rendered. In this case, in Mr. Bones, it was by Angel Studios. And so, like, Mr. Bones would run, and behind him would be the sort of full motion pre-rendered video. And then there was another channel, which was the logical space, or like the sort of the collision detection that followed along. So when Mr. Bones is running on this, full motion video background, in parallel, sort of the ground and all the things that had collision information had to sort of go with it. So the fact that the Saturn was really a crappy piece of hardware forced us to do some creative things to make it look like it was 3D, but it really wasn't 3D.
No, right.
But still, it was still fun. I enjoyed making Mr. Bones because the team, all the teams that were involved with the game were really into it, and we all had fun. The entire development cycle was nothing but fun and games, and that's why, like, if you know the game, it's sort of like, here's a little side-scrolling section, and then like a completely out of the box, crazy play mechanic level that never appeared again. It's just then you're dealing with shadows on the wall, and then another one where you're dealing with a fully animated giant Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then another one where you're jumping on glass shards while some old blues guy is talking about the blues in the background. Like I said, every single level was trying to be unique and out of the box, and we did a lot of those weird levels, and that's why it was 2 CDs, because there was so much content.
Yep.
Great game.
Yeah, and it but hard as crap. I mean, this to me, you guys in your Dark Souls, no, try playing this game, because what I will say is because of some of the mechanics, the movement was a little more loose than so trying to, because it was almost like you were controlling a marionette.
Yes, that was the desire. And when he was unhealthy, his skeletism, which is skeletal magnetism,
right,
was loose. So
you'll see that. Oh, you'll see that there's been times when I'm down to the B in bones, and if you know this, when you jump, you lose a bone. So but and in this is the valley level. This took me a while to realize. Oh, you could go underground and do stuff. So again, there are no on-screen prompts to say go here, go there, push this to the side. It was there should have been. Like here, like I had no idea for a while that I had to move that that thing to the side. I couldn't figure out how to unlock one of the mausoleum pieces to go forward, and I must have stayed on this level for like a half hour before I realized, is there something I missed? And I went back. See, yeah, you can see some of the little glitchy. It's kind of funny. And so I figured it out, and once I figured it out, then I was okay. I got as far in this past playthrough. Now, this game I didn't beat. I'm not gonna lie to you. Did not beat this one. I am not sure I remember even getting to disc 2.
It's never too late.
Well, so here's the great part.
Find cheat codes on it now.
Oh no, I don't do cheat codes. I'm not that kind of guy.
Or level select codes.
So, well, I do have the RAM cart, so I have the levels. I have them saved. So, but so you see, I died. But I just came across an HDMI cable for the Saturn. That this is how it looks. I mean, it looks this. I'm using that cable for the footage that you guys see on the screen. It's phenomenal. Cool. It's unbelievable. So that's why, Peter. That's why you haven't seen me on Xbox the past few days, because I've been.
Well, thank you for playing it.
It's a great game. I love it. I would love if I were to possibly send you the book. I would love for you to sign it.
Sure, no problem.
That's awesome.
Send me a Sharpie too.
Okay. Do they not make Sharpies on the West Coast?
Haven't you noticed that it's harder to find pens these days? Like, pens used to be everywhere, but lately I can never find a pen.
I will figure
Let
it
alone
out.
a Sharpie.
I will figure it out. Actually, it's funny. Not that, kids these days can sign their names with a pen. So, that's a whole other thing. But the other thing, like you said, I'm a music guy, so that, as you heard, the opening video for our show tonight was "Bones is Bones."
Yeah.
Ronnie,
and great tune. Great.
It's a great tune, and so I'd love. In fact, let me see if I can get far, because I did do. Here's the. I'll turn the sound up a little bit. Here's the guitar solo scene, and you get that sense. This was a neat scene. Here, I gotta share the audio here. Oops.
You're not playing it right now?
I'm not playing it live. No, this was my recording. So I recorded this yesterday for the show. So, but again, this is done through an HDMI cable. This looks amazing. But this was just watching. What was really funny about this scene too, and I didn't realize it until I played it again, was if you'll watch, you'll know it, but if you guys in the chat room watch, you'll see the flip, the guy's holding up the. Oh my goodness. They're holding up the. Turn that back down a little bit. Yeah, I love that they're holding up the candles, and they're it's awesome. This was now, did you come up with this mechanic as well?
Yeah.
See, that's what I liked about it, was there was a lot of difference. There's a lot of different elements to this game. It wasn't just all side-scrolling. You started out side-scrolling, but then you got to the mausoleum. You did a little more side-scrolling, but then you got to here. So there's a lot of difference in there. But maybe I go back and beat it now. Maybe what I feel when I see, like, when I was just watching that, even the thing that you're playing right now, I could see Ronnie, because we motion captured him. So to see Mr. Bones, so Ronnie had passed away a few years ago. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did, and which is amazing, because like that, the blind man scene, that's Ronnie Montrose playing the guitar with Bones, but that's also Ronnie Montrose playing the guitar as Bones. So like, to recognize my friend in the motion capture of an old video game character, like to see him is an odd feeling, that somehow Ronnie's essence is like sort of captured. And we just captured him because he was the guitar player, so might as well capture him. And then he was in good with Fender, and he told Fender about the game, and complained that because of the motion capture uses magnetism somehow. I can't remember exactly how. So an electric guitar was a no-no when it came to full motion body, motion capture back then. So Fender made him a wooden Fender with no metal and no strings or anything. But that's what he used for the motion capture. So he had a Fender block of wood that was beautiful. It was a beautiful. I wanted that blank guitar from Fender so bad. He wouldn't give it to me, bastard. But and I don't know where it is.
He didn't leave it to you in his will.
He didn't. No, he didn't. He should have. But he didn't. But yeah, so every time I see Mr. Bones, I see my friend, and it's it's an little emotional twinge there.
Oh, well, I'm glad I could bring you some footage.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Man, so now you get me. All right.
Are we choking up?
A little bit. That's a great story. I mean, the connections, just hearing about those connections and hearing about the friends you make in the industry by doing these kind of things, that's just really, it's something. And, especially when you lose a friend like that. I mean, goodness knows, could be a Mr. Bones too. If he was, with him on guitar, it would have been.
Yeah.
No. But
it's nice that he lives on at this game. That you.
Yeah. You know what I might do then is I might stream a playthrough of this. I might have to do that.
Yeah, try to get to the second disc. You know what? Like, skip all the side-scrolling stuff and just do the levels that are in between. That's my advice.
Yeah, but all right. I'm gonna power through it. Screw it. I'm gonna power through this game. This is my homework. I am going to. I will do that, and then I will take a screenshot of the end screen and tweet it to you, so that you know that I'm going to now beat this game. I'm in.
So there's a level called the Little People, or Lilliputian Nightmare, I think is the name of the level. And these little tiny people are getting kidnapped by spiders, and Mr. Bones has to help them, and he does, or you do as a player. But then the FMV, the cinematic going to the next level, is a song that is sang by the little people, so they have these like chipmunk voices. That's Ronnie and his wife Michelle singing that song. So yeah, nobody knows that, but now you know that. That was fun. That was very fun. Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Let me crack open the book, because that's crazy.
And what else do I remember about that?
And that was called the Little People's Village.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Giant tarantulas have invaded the land of the little people. Yeah. Jump and cut or use your plasma beam to stop the arachnids before they snatch all the little people away. Each person rescued will appear at the bottom of the screen. Watch for the guiding hand and follow it to win. And follow it to win. All right. Because I had gotten as far as Batwoods.
Yeah.
That was that killed me.
That's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, this game. Yeah, again, you guys in your Dark Souls. No, play this game. Play this. This is the pre-Dark Souls of the Sega Saturn. No, but it's just so good. It's just so good. I'd always held on to it. It's in as good a condition as I could keep it in, and like I said, I would love this. It would be, I would love for you to sign the book. So if I can get that to you, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah. Cool.
So we've talked about the past, and I know we're getting on. For us, it's an hour and a half in, which is amazing.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but I don't want to, and we're good as long as you are. But let's fast forward because as you'd said earlier, you still have irons in the fire with Spencer Nilsson. You've got things going on. You are still, your day job is still creating games, right?
Yeah, I don't really know how to do anything else, so it's I'm stuck.
That's okay. And by the way, I want to just back up this real quick. As he lost his leg, what something else that people might not see as a nuance to this game is I'm hopping around on one leg, and I noticed that when you do have to move some of these things to the side, depending on what your limbs are, there were different animations for how he moved that. That was always pretty cool. So
yeah, we tried.
Yeah, and if I lost the other leg, he would use his head. He would push with his head. That stuff like that was great. And we do have we got some Saturn and Sega folks in here. Shizno Elite said he played his Saturn tons. I think he said that he loved this game. So there's some Mr. Bones fans in the chat room too.
Awesome.
So, but let's fast forward. So, the latest thing you did, and I know you did. You brought out you worked with. So we could touch on the dark age of the N-Gage. So what was your role with N-Gage?
I made some games. I ran the development studio in San Francisco for a couple of years, making N-Gage games. Had a team of producers and testers. And it was like the same job, only different hardware. And, that's it.
Okay.
Mile High Pinball was the one game that I made that I felt like was an N-Gage game. It wasn't like a video game crammed into a tiny little screen on a phone. It was created for the N-Gage, and I think it was definitely one of the best N-Gage games, if I do say so myself.
As long as you took the battery out to put the game in.
Yeah,
that was a bizarre design, man. You got to admit that was a.
Yeah, I mean everything about it was sort of kind of a joke.
Well, I wasn't gonna say that, but the Gizmondo was a joke. The Phantom. You remember the Phantom by Infinium Labs, the streaming system that was gonna come out and never did? That was a joke. The N-Gage, I didn't say it was a joke, but it was to watch people. First off, to watch people use the phone like this was a little nuts, and then to take the battery out in order to swap your games was kind of weird.
Yeah,
but I
guess that like the executives at Nokia were like, "Well, put the game in, so you got the game is in there." It's like, what if you want to change the games? It's like, well, you already have the game in. Why do you? It's not like you change batteries. So, I don't know.
I don't either. All right,
so it was too cold, so you couldn't get the game out anyways without freezing your fingers, so you just left it in.
And if it was...
you enjoyed the game more,
right?
Because you had the game in and you played it,
right? And if it was Mile High Pinball, you never took it out.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Now there's Ronnie.
Yeah, I saw.
Mr. Bones.
Yeah, so I sorry, I just I didn't realize he wasn't blind, was he?
No.
Okay.
And here's the funny thing about this scene. I talked him into being an actor in it, to being the blind man, and that's him standing up playing the guitar right now. And those are his fingers that are actually playing the guitar. That's Ronnie. And he was really nervous about doing the video, and as you can see, he did a great job. Right before we shot it, he came into my office and he just started talking with a Scottish accent, and I didn't know what to think because he doesn't talk in a Scottish accent at all. In fact, I can even hear it's a fake Scottish accent. And for some reason, he had to do the blind man with a Scottish accent, which he did. And there's no reason for it other than somehow it made him feel less nervous about the video. Which was crazy. And I had no idea. I remember, like, why Scottish? Or maybe was the original blind man in Frankenstein Scottish? No. So just for some reason he needed it to be in a Scottish accent, and it made him more comfortable. I guess it kind of put him in a head where it was completely fake. Like, when he plays guitar on the stage, he's playing the guitar. He's like behind it, and he's presenting this sort of entertainment, and that's like he's behind it. And then if when you video him, that's him. That's Ronnie Montrose, the man, and he needed to have some veil or something between him and the lens of the camera, and he came up with this Scottish accent thing, and it worked out. It worked out pretty good.
All right.
Yeah.
No. By the way, I did skip a couple of games. The Echo Online from Twitter, who's in here, he said he said don't forget to bring up Tiny Tank.
Tiny Tank.
Yeah, I didn't. You had a couple other games before, that were still in Sega. 3 Dirty Dwarves, which honestly, that one I didn't get a chance to play. If I find it, I'm gonna take a shot at it. And then for the 32X, the one lone 32X game, Calibri, which is like Ecco the Dolphin in the air. How did you come up with that one?
That's a good story, and this is true. It's going to sound like BS, but it's actually true. I didn't want to do anything on the 32X. I was not. I didn't really care about it. I was looking forward to the Saturn, but I was asked to make a game for it, and I didn't want to do Echo on it initially until it kind of proved that it was worthy for Echo, or I just wasn't a big believer in the sort of going from one platform to another and then like sort of enhancing the Genesis to sort of bridge the gap between the Genesis and the Saturn. Is not something I was looking forward to doing. So I was thinking to myself, what can I do that I would enjoy? And so I was just thinking, and I was a smoker then. I was outside standing in front of the Sega of America building, and I'm smoking a cigarette. And as I'm doing this, a hummingbird, I swear this is true, came right up to my face, like a foot away, and was looking right at me. And right just a moment before, I had inhaled my cigarette. And then so when he showed up, I exhaled into his face. And I swear he went, chirp, and then he flew away. And I was like, oh, the poor guy, man, what bad timing on that hummingbird. The next day, almost exactly 24 hours later, I'm smoking a cigarette again, and he shows up, and he's pissed. I can tell. I felt it. And I was like, a hummingbird is a little, and they're so tiny, and they're so, like, all I had to do was even my smoke exhaling kind of kicked its ass. So it was like they're so light and little, but then then it made me interested, and I started reading about hummingbirds, and they're like little badasses, like the way they fly differently than any other bird. They make little vortices that lift them. They're not, they don't use the same physics as other birds, and they do battles and like dog fights in the air, and they're very territorial, and they're cool little animals. So then I was like, all right, 32X, how about a game where you play a hummingbird? And the mechanic idea was is a hummingbird, so he's just sort of zero gravity. But then when you hit this acceleration button, you could zoom anywhere instantly on the screen, and then that sort of evolved into a game from there. With that play mechanic. So me being a smoker and exhaling in the face of a hummingbird is really why that game exists.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I wish I still had it. I have a small amount of 32X games, but Calibri, for whatever reason, I couldn't find it recently.
They didn't make a lot of them.
No, and I back then, again, it's like baseball cards. You put them in the spokes of your bike, and you forget that later on they become a little more. Yeah. I'm actually kind of amazed. I've got an unopened copy of the Amazing Spider-Man Web of Fire for 32X. I didn't realize. Yeah, until I figured out, till I looked, and it's like a $700 game now.
Oh yeah,
in that condition. Yeah, I'm like, so okay, I'm never touching that again. So yeah, it's wild. So I'm always on the lookout for retro games like this, and Calibri is one that I've never been able to find. So, but so if you got any extras, let me know. I'll buy one from you.
Yeah, I have one copy.
So
I'll probably be hanging on to that.
Yeah, I would hope so. So so you did some mobile work, right? There was
ton of mobile games.
Yep, Snap Mobile Soccer, and there was one that I heard about recently. I mean, it's an older game called Slice.
Yeah, Slice. That's with the puzzle game with sharp knives.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really like a tablet game.
Right.
It was a good game. I love that game.
And then Play-Kami. So,
yes.
So how did that come about?
Well, in 2011, it was founded, and it was like usually if you ever take an investment, the investor likes to restart the company so that there's no skeletons in the closet that they have to deal with in the future. So that's why through my career, it's like one company after another, because it just sort of the legal ramifications of one company sort of carrying the burdens of the past. It's always more comfortable for investors to start a new company. So when I was raising money for Play-Kami, the investor was like, okay, let's start fresh with a new company. And that's how Play-Kami was born. But everybody I work with, like Spencer Nielsen and all the guys in Budapest, like the guys who made this game that you're playing right now, we've worked together since the Ecco days. So we're all friends and partners, and the company names just change throughout time, kind of like clothing. You just shed one and put a new one on, but the people are the same. And so
Spencer
Play-Kami is the current company, but
gotcha.
Still the same old people.
He had a hand in this game, by chance?
Spencer?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
But we are working on using this game system design on another game that he is scoring.
Oh my God.
So, and he's done some unbelievable.
Oh my goodness.
Unbelievable stuff.
All right. So when you announce that game, let me know, because we will talk about it here.
Yeah. All right.
In fact, we do this with everybody. Now that you've been on, pending that you actually have had a good time with us, you're welcome on anytime you want. Maybe you can bring him with you.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I would. So
very cool.
I'm kind of fanboying out having you on, this would just throw me into a tizzy.
Yeah.
I mean, just I've so enjoyed listening to these stories that you've told tonight. I couldn't even imagine the stories he has as well, and being able to talk to him about my favorite sound. To being able to talk about songs like Sonic Boom and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which are, again, I have this stuff ripped. So I have the discs, so I own the game. So nobody, DCMA,
Mhm.
stand down, everyone. I ripped
Mhm.
all of my games, all the red tracks to my computer, and I literally listen to this stuff while I'm cleaning the house. And I mean, I'm serious. I listen to this stuff like people listen to regular songs on the radio.
Yeah.
I love game music so much.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you definitely need to have Tommy and Spencer on
all right,
at
we're
some
gonna make
point.
this happen. I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
Spencer, I can't. He doesn't have a Twitter account, so I couldn't find him. But I'm gonna start working on Tommy.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so this is actually a Nintendo Switch game.
Yeah.
So we're up into modern console here. Um,
Yeah. We
talk about
released this in March.
Yeah, so talk about Space War Arena for a moment. What is it? How did you come up with it?
Uh, I can't remember.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it was just initial. It was a notion. I guess I always loved like little ships, little spaceships, and that's where this came from. And then Clash of Clans, lane-based, real-time strategy games came out, and I love those games. And then I just came up with this. And then this is the kind of game where it's like, all right, let's just make a little prototype and try playing it, and let's try tuning it so that it'll be fun or challenging, and play against each other. And then the fun factor is really super high, so we just chased that, like just kept working on it, making it more and more fun. And there's a cool sort of feedback loop with a game like this, is that you add new ideas and it whacks the thing out of balance completely. So then you got to tune it in, and you got to rebalance everything so that it works, and that, I'm playing you and I kick your ass today, but now you've learned from that, and then you come back and you beat me, like that back and forth. The game has to be really balanced in order to like sort of have a long tail of gameplay like that. So this game was tuned again and again and again, over and over and over for 2 years. It's really really well crafted, and a beautiful game, and I love it. But it's generic. It's like little ships, and nobody really, it's not Star Wars or Star Trek. It's just Space War Arena, and it's so the emphasis here, from at least from my perspective, is the system design, like the way the game works mechanically. And if you I don't know if you could see it now in enough detail, but if you watch the battles, every little detail is there. Every hit, it's very clear what happens. So it's a very followable game. Like you could watch it and see exactly what's going on, and playing it, and and it's a versus game, so you're always playing against somebody. So it has this real nice competitive feel to it. So yeah, I'm very, very proud of it. I really love Space War Arena, and hope to keep working in this genre, this sort of competitive player versus player thing.
This is neat. So the ships that are showing up, uh is this a is there an RTS element to it where
Yeah.
where
So
okay.
this is an RTS. That's there's different units. There's 30 different units. All of them have different parameters, and different behaviors, different damage levels, and even like when a ship blows up, how much sort of splash damage or area of effect they have on doing damage in the area. Like all these units have different parameters, and then you get to know them as you play them, as you unlock them. You get to know them, and then you start to pair them up and use them strategically, and that's what makes it a good, fun, deep game. It's like a simple single screen RTS.
Okay, so are you controlling any of the ships in real time, turning, firing?
No, all you do is call them out. You add 3 elements to the game: when you take them out, where you take them out, and at what rotation. What's their initial rotation? And that's it. As soon as you let them go, their AIs take over, and you should be focused on your next move at that point.
Okay.
Try it. You might like it. I think it's pretty good.
Peter, you're the Switch guy.
Yeah.
Peter, I'll send you a code.
All right.
Now, have you guys thought about bringing this to other platforms?
Yeah, I mean that's the plan.
Okay.
But first we launched it. What we felt was fully tuned, but it was just couch co-op, no online play. And then we were working on the online play, which is in now. The last patch brought that in. We tuned the units even more based on how everybody was playing the game. So it's very well tuned, and now it's multiplayer. And now we're getting to the point where it's time to look at all the other platforms that we could bring it out on.
Excellent, because this could be. I mean, I'm a big proponent of like Game Pass, Microsoft's Game Pass.
Yeah,
this would make a dandy Game Pass game.
Yeah, I think so too.
Just something you get it in people's hands, and get them playing it and trying it and checking it out for themselves. I mean, that would be awesome. And of course, the PlayStation has a thriving indie community that would love to play a game like this. This is definitely something that could make its way elsewhere.
Good.
But Peter, you'll have to give us a full report on this.
Yeah, will do. What I like about it is it's what you said. It's a single screen, so you don't have to trying to find all your units and see where they're at, and that's cool. Like that.
It's like a chess game, but the pieces explode.
Yeah.
Remember Battle Chess?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. So, and so I will say again, since we did talk about it earlier, if there's an opportunity for Blake and me to maybe hit that underwater Big Blue again, I would that. So you would pique my interest. That would be a game that I would be all over. So,
yeah, cool.
And maybe it shows up on the Amico.
Yeah. Who knows?
Just just a thought. I could be your marketing manager.
All right, I'll hit you up.
Yeah, and then of course with other things that. So you've obviously got the other things in mind for new games, and it's just great to see some of this. This is in this world of I think one of the games we mentioned before the show started was like Red Dead Redemption 2. These big super games that quite honestly you can't finish except unless you're Peter. I just to be able to switch gears into something like this would be, just a welcome change. And I know a lot of indie developers are trying to do, things like this, but then they're also trying to get into they're trying to bridge that gap between what's used to be called AAA and what indie developers were used to do. And so there's the Outer Wilds and stuff like that comes out. But there is a great reason to have games like this that you pick up your game. And again, I haven't seen a single prompt. I haven't seen a single instruction prompt. It is just pick it up and go.
Yeah, 5-minute battles. This game sort of acknowledges your busy life, and it doesn't try to get you to sit there for 60 hours. It's like, let's go at it right now. Man versus man, 5 minutes. We have a winner and a loser.
Right, and you put it down, and then when you got another few minutes that you're, when you get off of work, you just want to unwind, play a couple rounds of this. See, those games have longevity. See, I know people have to have the thing that is weird about today's games. And Ed, you're on Twitter and you see it, I'm sure, as much as Peter and I do, and the guys in the chat room. It's like these you have to have these crazy graphical 12-hour story, big set piece, big and that's the only kind of game that really matters today. They're fighting over Death Stranding and Gears of War and The Last of Us 2 and all these big games. The ones that to me kind of stand the test of time are the ones that you can just pick up whenever you just need a fix. Whenever you need that fix. For me, a game like Rocket League is that kind of game. I don't need to get invested in Rocket League. If I just want to just take a couple of rounds and then turn my Xbox back off, things like that. And a game like this, it's like right up that alley.
Yeah.
And people instead of they play it and then they shelve it because they're done, a game like this just lasts.
Yeah, it's the mechanism it's either you have a game where the game is the user interface or the mechanism or the play mechanic, or you have a game that is content and lots of people and lots of money makes like a movie that you play through. And nothing again. I love Red Dead Redemption 2, and I plan on playing Death Stranding when it comes out on the PC or Stadia. But so I love those games too. So there's all different kinds of games, which
absolutely.
We're lucky.
Yeah,
as game players, we're lucky these days.
Yes, we are. I agree with you there. And to have this breadth of game genre it's good because everybody, like I said, everybody's concentrating on graphics and stuff, and you're right. There's a place for that. I play these games. I play those games too, but the game like this, I can see it. I don't have a Switch. I can't afford it, but the day this comes out on either the PS4 or the Xbox, I think this is one I'm gonna get right on. It's just It's nice and easy, and I can dig those games.
Cool. Well, if you ever do get a Switch and you ever do play this game, get in touch with me and we'll fight.
All right. Well, Peter's your Huckleberry.
Oh yeah. I'll send you a code, Peter.
I'm volunteering you to get your ass kicked, Peter.
I'm pretty good at it. So.
Okay. Maybe I'll learn a thing or two.
Yeah. So, I am humbled. We have gone 2 hours. I wasn't expecting
let's
that.
hang up.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting all that.
Is anybody still watching?
Oh yeah, we got absolutely. We got the
Hi everybody.
Chat room. Chat room is hopping. We got
was interesting.
And with guys that honestly love your work. So when we started talking about Mr. Bones, I was delighted to see how many people in the chat room there were saying, I played that game. I love that game. They know that game. That speaks volumes just that speaks volumes to your work, Ed.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm still, there is a little bit of fanboy going on in me right now because of the
Awesome.
work that you did, for Sega. Sega was my thing for a long time, and I kind of grew up in console gaming playing your games.
Yeah, man.
That's
Thanks.
so to have you here to talk about it and to kind of even help me reminisce some old times. I'm grateful that you were able to take the time with us tonight. I really am.
Yeah, cool.
And
Well, I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
and you're welcome on anytime you want. Anytime you want to shoot the breeze about the industry itself. We do typically have folks that they just come on and we just talk about other things.
All right. Yeah. Cool.
So you're welcome anytime, and I'll definitely see you on Twitter. Where can people find you? Obviously, on Twitter.
Yeah.
And follow this man. He also has some great other things he tweets. It's not all video game stuff. So
Yeah.
Peter, did you have any? I know I kind of took a lot of the.
Well, yeah, you're all geeking out and stuff.
I
so
know.
I'm really, I've been trying to get it add on for a while. So it's really great, seeing that and appreciate you all, the backstories, it's fantastic. I mean, really enjoyed that. So appreciate it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it was nice meeting you, and it was nice being on this 2-hour-long show, old video games.
Yes.
So next time, maybe I'll come on and I'll show something new.
Ooh. Okay. Ooh. All right.
And then when I talk to Spencer, I'll tell him to look for you.
Yes, I would.
This guy who wants you on his podcast.
I would owe you so much. It would be amazing how much I would be indebted to you. I am not even joking. This would be
All right, cool.
So, and chat room guys, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us as always. You guys have been great. Yeah, Shizno Elite, Mr. Bones is a classic. That's what I'm talking about. So,
okay, good night, everybody.
All right, Ed, have a great night. We'll wrap up our, and we'll keep the Space War Arena footage going for a few minutes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, good. All right, stay in touch. Take care, guys.
Thank you so much, Ed.
Yeah,
we
thank
appreciate
you.
it. Good night.
Have a good night. That's fantastic,
dude. That man is responsible for some of my best gaming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't even. The fact that he even was able to take the time. It wasn't until he agreed to come on, and I started to keep looking, that I realized that he's still developing games after all this time. Like, and I didn't know this game existed.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was just I'd go smoke a cigarette.
Yeah. Watch out for that hummingbird. Right. I mean, those stories. I mean, that's just fantastic. There's a priceless. I mean, that's
Yeah, I mean,
it's great.
I didn't know that. I mean, I knew the game Calibri. It was. I got to see if I can find the box art to show you. The 32X didn't last very long, so.
Right.
And Calibri's an
actual. It's not on my Genesis Mini, is it?
It is not, because it's a Sega Saturn game.
Oh, dang!
I know.
It has Ecco the Dolphin though.
Yeah, and so here we go. Here's let me pull up the 32X was a neat bird, but it of course died because Sega just didn't know what they were doing at that time. They honestly didn't. They brought out the 32X, and then Sega of Japan said, "Yeah, but we're working on the Saturn," and just destroyed any of the work that they did. If you ever get a chance to on YouTube look up. There's a guy called the Gaming Historian, has some fantastic videos about this stuff, and he did a video on the 32X, and it's exactly the way you think it was. It was supposed to be a stopgap, and it turned out to be one of the like the downward spiral of Sega. The Saturn was kind of the nail in the coffin, but see, this was a hummingbird going after bees and fighting them in the air. It was hilarious. So, just I
think it's sad. There's so many great games that I've never played because life is too short.
It is, but that's also why. It's also why I do a lot of retro gaming, and why I'm glad I found that Hyperkin. I didn't realize how good those Hyperkin cables were. That footage that I took of both of Mr. Bones was off of that HDMI cable, and the Dreamcast cable I got, which was some third party, had Japanese writing on it. When I play the Dreamcast, it washed out the signal, and it's all bright and stuff like that.
Right.
I think I'm gonna go back and try the Hyperkin cable because I'm betting that's a better cable. So, and of course, you turned me on to the Pound cable for the Xbox.
Yeah.
So, and that cable's been great. So, but man,
but about the games and stuff, nowadays with gaming as a service, it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing, like, they keep life in a game and stuff, but on the other hand, it's like there's so many other great games that
well, yeah,
you have to ignore because you don't have time.
Well, I think, does it feel to you like games as a service is becoming more suited for esports?
Maybe.
They're still working on Rainbow Six Siege. Yeah, Shizno, I'm not kidding, man. I did an unboxing video, and I haven't put it out yet because I was going to record some more footage, but I'm dead serious. The Saturn cable is legit, and what's really wild about it has a 4x3 and a 16x9 switch on it, so you can, get it, Shizno, it's legit. So, and thank you, Jeff. It was a great interview. I'm humbled. So I'm totally humbled. These guys take the time. I know they're not movie stars or rock stars. I don't mark out for those kind of people. This is a guy who, like I said, he's responsible for some stuff that just took. And when he talked about Ronnie Montrose, I didn't realize he passed away.
Yeah.
And watching him get emotional, that got me. That hit me. Especially with my dad. It's been a year,
Yeah.
So that was just like a real moment. It's why we do these, Peter.
Exactly.
So,
some very, very good stuff. I mean, there are real people behind those games, and they put a heart and soul in it, and it's like fantastic. Love it.
I didn't know that Sega turned him down for Ecco the Dolphin. Oh, man. See, while everyone else is arguing about the Game Awards, which we'll do next week.
Yeah.
We'll do that next week. But tonight was just such a great night to just talk to who I feel is an industry legend.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I didn't know that Z Black. I didn't know he passed away. I really honestly didn't. I didn't know. So, it was in 2012.
Mm.
Man. So, and thanks for. I mean, Chris ended up not being able to make it, so I'm really glad you did.
Yes, I'm glad I could make it.
Yes. So, all right.
That's great.
Yeah. Did you have anything you wanted
to? I played a new game. I haven't played. Breakpoint for the past 3 days. I played. Yeah, I know. Isn't that something?
No,
I played Remnant from the Ashes.
Ooh.
It's on Game Pass. It's a fantastic game.
Yeah. All right.
It's you can play it in co-op. It's kind of a how do you want to call it? It's like, what kind of game is it? How would I describe it? Basically, you go on all different kinds of quests, and what I said, it's co-op. It's almost kind of like a what do you want to call it? I always have a hard time describing a game. Let's see, I want to describe it. It's a what game does it look like? Basically, you come across all different kind of creatures, and they're you take them down, and you collect like your iron and stuff that gives you better. You can use that to create better weapons, better armor.
So it's like an RPG, an action RPG.
Yeah, something like that. And there's some big bosses. It's almost like a kind of like a maybe kind of Dark Souls kind of thing to it. So, what I said, it's in co-op. It's great. What's not as great is if you're not the host of the co-op, and later on you start a game by yourself. You don't have any of the quest items or any of the quests that you've completed, so you cannot really continue the story or revisit parts of it. It's a little bummer, but yeah, definitely check it out, especially for the Game Pass subscriber. Looks good, plays great, it's smooth, sometimes tough as nails.
So maybe Ed had a hand in it.
Maybe.
That is one thing that you will find when you're playing Echo. It is hard.
What they see here in the description is like it's a third-person survival action shooter set in a post-apocalyptic world overrun by monstrous creatures. So that's really what it is. Okay. But yeah, check it out.
All right. Well, it was funny. And I'm going back and forth now between playing on the Saturn with the new cable, but I was rearranging some stuff because the Saturn cable is connected, so it doesn't use its own. I can't use my own cable, so I actually had to move my Saturn over, and by doing so, I ended up moving my PlayStation over to where my Saturn used to be, and because of that, the VR helmet, the PlayStation VR, actually, the cable is longer because I'm not, for whatever reason, because it's closer to me. And so I put that in and played a little bit of Battlezone, and then I was like, wonder what The Last of Us looks like on here on the big screen. So I ended up playing that.
Okay.
Trying to go back and forth between a bunch of different games. and but at the same time, I need to finish Outer Worlds so I can go on to a. So maybe over the weekend.
Just started Outer Worlds. I was curious.
And okay, and
well, I didn't get that far.
okay.
The game locked up on me
Oh,
early in the beginning when you discover that first dude that gets you the pistol.
yes.
So I went through the first outside area down there, and it tells you about the game mechanic that it slows down time, and that's when it said that's where it froze. The buttons didn't want to respond to anything.
Yeah.
So I had to restart it. But
All right.
so that's where I'm at, just right at the beginning.
Okay. All right. Well, let me know. Let me know how if you get farther into it. Let me know how you like it. I'm moving through it. Moving through it. I still like it. I still there's a lot of elements about it that I like.
Yeah, I wish the frame rate was better when you pan around. It's a little jarring.
Yeah, a little bit.
So
all right.
So good stuff.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, well, it's almost midnight. I might.
It is.
I might have to jump on this Bones.
Yeah, I wish I had it on anything. I don't.
If they make a mini Saturn, that's definitely
They should.
They should. They should make a Saturn Mini.
I love those minis.
I still didn't get the Genesis Mini yet. I don't know what's my only issue is the amount of I wish that there was a way to add games to it.
Yeah, like an official way of adding games to it.
Well, yes. Yes.
That's one thing that I like about the Commodore 64 Mini. It's made for you to add games to it with a USB stick. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So a mini Saturn that you can load ISOs into.
Yeah.
And then a mini Dreamcast that you could do. Well, you can't really do that, but a mini Saturn you can load ISOs into. So, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I got nothing else. I'm spent.
Yeah.
My night's done. So, man, thank you for making it on tonight and being
this. Glad I could make it up.
Yeah, this was
fantastic.
This was a good night. So I'm gonna take a shot. I'm gonna take a shot at Tommy Tallarico.
Yes.
I'm gonna tell him.
Tell him Ed sent you.
Ed sent me. So, I will see. So
yeah.
All right, people are heading out of the chat room too, so this is a good segue out.
It's a good exactly. Otherwise, we're the only two still left.
Right. So, hey guys in the chat room, thank you so much. I know Jeff already rolled out, Jago already rolled out, but everybody else, and I know I saw our friends from TXR podcast in there. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. C Black said, "I'm gonna curl up with a blanket and have sweet dreams." You're damn right. I'm gonna be hugging my Echo. So I don't know if you guys, some of you guys that came in late. So here is my Ecco the Dolphin. Here is my Echo Tides of Time. As we had talked about earlier, he did not do the Dreamcast version. You've already seen my Mr. Bones box. So I got the only one I didn't play was Echo Junior. So, but I thought that was a great story too. That he built that game because there's a girl that couldn't play the full game, and he thought enough to make a junior game. That's freaking phenomenal.
Yeah.
So
maybe it was right up my league because I had no idea you could move those rocks and other stuff. Like I got stuck because remember the first part when you go all the way to the right, you have those rocks blocking the the next area.
Yes.
I had no idea. Now I know.
And now
thanks to your little partial playthrough.
And maybe that's that's what his games were. Was
Hmm.
you had to figure that out on your own.
Yeah, exactly.
So there, you kind of
You
like
have to
if you
call a
talk.
friend instead of
Yes. Well,
tweet.
if you talk to the other dolphins, you'll sometimes get a hint, but it's not often.
Yep, right.
He left it up to you to figure the game out.
I was glad that I figured out that you could jump over those, out of the water over those islands or whatever they are. So it's like, okay,
That's how you get farther.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, play it some more and let me know. Let me know what you think.
Now I'll definitely play some more because I'm now intrigued.
Awesome.
And yeah,
Awesome.
but that game stands the time.
It does. It does. That's what I was saying. If he brought out, so he did a Kickstarter for a game called The Big Blue, which was a spiritual successor to Echo. He couldn't use Echo because Sega owns the name.
Ah,
So
maybe we'll get something like that on Amigo.
that would be awesome. I'm in on the Amico. So I keep going back and forth on the well, now that I've got the Hyperkin cable, I'm less inclined to get the Polymega because I was really getting it for that. I would love to have a Sega CD again, but honestly, I could do emulation and just use my CDs, which is how I got the Echo and Ties of Time footage.
Oh, okay.
I could do that if I wanted to, but I have less of a reason for the Polymega now, and now that turns my attention towards the Amico full.
I swear, I thought in the Amico reel I thought they had something like a Echo the Dolphin in it. No, maybe I'm just
I don't
dreaming
know.
that.
I don't know that they had that. They had a bunch of they had some old. How much in television do you know? How much old in television do you know?
Practically zero.
All right. I might have to. I might also have to educate you on the original in television because there were some games on there that it was like, so it was a competitor to the Atari 2600,
Mm-hmm.
and the selling point was it was the more powerful system because
Right.
and there was like one of the first system wars, and they got George Plimpton to come out and do these commercials, and they would show like Atari baseball versus Intellivision baseball, and they had some, it was definitely a different looking system as far as the graphics go, and there were a number of games, like Astro Smash and Auto Racing and things, and I saw a couple of those games in that trailer, Night
Okay.
Stalker, and I actually have an Intellivision copy of Pitfall still in the box. In fact, hang on. I ended up showing this to David Crane on his Twitter. I still have the in the box with the cartridges were a little smaller than Atari cartridges, so they were like really thin,
Okay.
like this.
Oh yeah, that's that.
But you also had the controller.
Hey, maybe they will fit in a PS5.
That's right. The controller had overlays you put in.
Oh yeah.
So, yes, I mean,
Yeah, now in the Amico, it's going to be like digital overlays or whatever it is.
Yes.
It's
All right.
It's will be neat.
All right, we're getting
We, we need to get Tommy on, but
yeah.
I'm not sure if he, maybe he looks at it and it's like we're not the Ferrari podcast.
No, so we gotta. But we could say, hey, we had your friend Ed on, and Ed said you have to come on.
That's right, and at least you can send him the show, so
that's
he
right.
knows what to expect.
That's right. So, all right. I didn't have anything else.
Me neither.
All right. Well, let's
It's
call it
time
an
to
evening. It's time to call it a night.
to call it a night.
Yeah, take us out, Peter.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Once again, I'd like to thank Az for coming on because that was fantastic. I mean, his stories, it's priceless. But everyone, thanks for watching. Hope to see you again next week. Are we having a show next week?
Ooh,
Thanksgiving.
it's Thanksgiving.
Eh,
I don't know.
maybe. If not, maybe we'll create some parties. And
Yeah. Let me think
we'll
that
hang
through.
out.
I don't know that Chris. I mean, I doubt Chris and his family will be on. We eat.
Yeah, I can make it. We're not doing anything.
Yeah, I don't think we are either. So all right, we'll. You know what? We can we can go over the Game Awards next week.
We can.
All right.
We'll cast our vote.
All right, there we go.
There we go. A Thanksgiving special. All right, everyone. Have a great night. Hope to see you perhaps next Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Have a good night. Peace out. Game on.